We at Resilience Unscripted would like to thank Breaking Barriers Recovery Home for sponsoring this week's episode.
This week's episode of Resilience Unscripted is sponsored by PK Law Group.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilience Unscripted. This week for episode 27, we're here with Chris Ainslie.
Hello.
Did I say that right?
You did.
Thank
yes.
God. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Jackie, for taking them.
Yes, thank you, Jackie, for bringing me.
So tell me a little about you.
Yeah, I'm Chris, but I did want to just say, like, the concept in the podcast that you're doing, I think is huge.
Thank you.
I think it's really cool to kind of like get some people on that are able to kind of have a voice in this way who, you know, like more often than not don't get the opportunity to like tell their stories, or if they do, they don't really get that listening ear. So I think like all the work that you're doing is really admirable. So I did want to just mention that before we get into it. But yeah, no, I'm Chris. Like I say in AA, I'm Chris. I'm an alcoholic. Proud alcoholic. I've been sober for about 10 months now.
Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I got my 10-month chip the other day. And it's so crazy to think about because, you know, I always thought like that 10-month mark, or like anything really, like it always felt so just out of my reach, if that makes sense. I remember before I really started like taking this seriously, I would like pop in and out of meetings, you know. Usually it was somebody else that wanted me to go. It wasn't necessarily me making that decision to go myself. But yeah, I would pop in and out, and you know, like at the end of every meeting, they give the chips out. They start at 11 months. And I remember just like always hearing that and being like, Jesus Christ, like that just feels like so much. Like I never really pictured myself ever, like even 1 month felt so unattainable. And yeah, you know, like you see everybody go up and you're like, damn, like they really like had to stay sober that long. And yeah, I was just like so skeptical of it. And, you know, like part of me didn't like really believe that the things that people say in the program, like how they're so happy, like they're able to like get everything back, like their life is better than ever. Like that's something that I just never really like believed, if that makes sense. And I thought they were full of shit. And, you know, like I thought I was so unique. I thought things were different. And I thought like it wouldn't work for me if I ever tried it, I guess. But yeah, no, when I got my chip the other day, the 10-month chip, I just was like, wow, like crazy that it happened. Like
It flew by.
It did. It flew by. It's kind of funny because like, I feel like for like maybe like the first year of me like trying to get sober, I felt like I was collecting 1-month chips, if that makes sense. Because, you know, I was constantly in and out. I was constantly like getting 30 days, getting 60 days, and then I would relapse and I wasn't taking it seriously. Or I would like literally go to meetings like fucked up and like hope that no one could tell, which like they always did. But they didn't tell me. So thank you to everyone for doing that. But yeah, I just like didn't take it seriously. And my story, I guess, kind of starts a little bit, I guess like before the addiction really started. I think mental health is a huge part of my story too. You know, I was kind of a problem child when I was growing up. I just always felt like, it's hard to explain it, but if you're somebody who deals with mental health struggles, which I know you are, and I'm sure a lot of like everyone watching has dealt with that too. You know, you always have that feeling like something's not right, but I can't really pinpoint what it is. Like there's something that is eating away at me every day. And it's like affecting like all aspects of my life. Like I don't feel good enough. I don't feel happy. Like I'm seeing all these people around me go through their lives who probably don't have to feel the way that I do. And, you know, like it really like impacts your motivation and your ability to like get things done. And when I was in high school, I remember it was just like so hard for me to do the things that I thought was so easy for everyone else. Like even just going to school and like sitting in class, like my anxiety would always be like so high.
Me
And
too.
yeah, and it's like it's so hard to deal with, especially as a teenager, because it's like they don't teach that in school. They don't talk about
No.
like mental health or emotions or anything. Um, so I remember I would always kind of like bring the problems up to like my parents and stuff, or it would like manifest differently. Like I would throw these like episodes and like I would refuse to go to school and like refuse to do things. And I was always sent around. I was always seeing like a new therapist. I was always going to like a new mental health, like PHP, like day program, something like that. Um, and it never really worked. Like I didn't really get anything out of it just because like I wasn't willing to put the work in.
Mm.
But I remember I went to Pembroke, which has a really bad rep, but I went to their PHP, which I actually really enjoyed. I think I learned a lot when I was there. And that was when I was probably like 19, 20, because my mental health was really bad. And that was before the addiction even started. And I remember when I was done with that program, just having that like new, I was definitely in the pink cloud and I had that like new motivation and I was like, I can hit the ground running and I can really like do something. And like I had so many goals I wanted to accomplish, which like in my early 20s I did. And I remember after that program, I was like, I want to help other people who felt like me growing up.
Mhm.
So I went to school for psychology with the intention of, like being a therapist ultimately. And I did graduate. I was good for a little while. And then after graduation, I think I kind of just like lost sight of what was important to me. I think it's like really easy to do that, especially when you're working a lot. Like your own well-being kind of gets pushed to the side.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered how much I love drinking. So yeah, my story really kind of starts in my early 20s after college when I was kind of like in the hustle of it all. But I remember those feelings that, like were present when I was younger. I noticed that they came back when I was in my 20s. Those feelings of not feeling good enough or having that social anxiety, just not feeling comfortable around other people. That came back. And I was dating somebody at the time who was like a really big drinker. And I noticed like when I was drinking with them, like all of those feelings went away. And I was like, oh my God. And I felt like, because I never really partied in high school or anything. I kind of like steered clear of that.
Mhm.
But when I started drinking, it was like all those feelings kind of lifted. And I was like, oh my God. Like I felt like I found the like the secret to everything. Like I found a way to like manage those like negative feelings I was having, which I'm sure is like, that's not a unique experience. I'm sure that's how a lot of us get started. But it was kind of then like I hit the ground running and it was like, I want to feel like this all the time. If I'm able to control how I'm feeling, like I will do that. And I did that for years. And it's crazy looking back that I lived like that for so long, but it's hard to kind of navigate a productive, like actual life doing that. So a lot of problems started happening within like my relationships and like every aspect of my life, really. And then drugs came into the picture as well, because eventually, like one substance stops working, you don't get the desired effect, so you have to like switch it up. And without going into too much detail, yeah, drugs really took over a little bit. And it was like that for years. It was like that like most of my 20s. I was like in and out of treatment. I was talking to different therapists, talking to different people, but like nothing was working. And I know now that it's because I wasn't willing to stop.
Right.
Yeah. I felt like I found my answer to everything. And it's like, you can tell me all of these things work for you. You can go to AA, you can go to treatment, you can, put the work in. But like that was so beyond my own sight that I wasn't even willing to put the work into it. So yeah, I wasted a lot of time doing that. And, it led to problems. I was getting arrested like here and there. All of my relationships were pretty much going to shit. Like my family didn't trust me at all. I stopped getting invited to a lot of things with my family and like with my friends too. And yeah, I got to the point where it was like I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be left alone so I could drink and I could use the way I wanted to. And it's like if someone doesn't want to be around me, that just makes what I want to do easier.
Right.
So it didn't really bother me. And I just felt like anything that tried to come in between me and my drink or my drug, whatever, like anything that came between that was just a burden. And I just couldn't be bothered with it. And in my mind, like in my sick mind, I always thought like if I'm able to like have an apartment, go to work, keep my job, doesn't matter how I perform at it. Like if I'm able to hold a job, like I don't think there's any reason I can't do what I want to do. And I justified that in my head for a long time. And yeah, it kind of went like that for a few years, but I did hit rock bottom 10 months ago, I guess now, where I was in a pretty bad car accident. And this is something I haven't talked about publicly either, just because like there's so much shame and so much guilt that comes with it. But yeah, so like I was just saying, just living in that cycle for so long, it came to a head last year on March 19th. I'll never forget this day, probably. You know, I remember waking up as I did like every day, feeling sick, if you know, like, you know. And it's like when you're in that cycle, it's like every single day you're like, I just have to get through today. Mm-hmm. It's like I just have to, you know, like get rid of how I'm feeling physically, get through the day. And then like when I come home tonight, everything will be fine. And I remember thinking that morning while I was getting ready. And then obviously it was like hair of the dog. Like just got to get rid of like the shakes, just got to get rid of the physical symptoms so I can like physically get into work. And I remember doing that. It was like 6:30 in the morning and getting into my car. And then I remember pulling onto the highway. My commute for work was like an hour. So pretty long. And yeah, I remember getting into my car and I remember texting my friend who like kind of knew how bad things were, but he was in it too. So he was someone that I was able to talk to about it. And I remember just being like, bro, like I'm not feeling good. And he was like, just get here. Cause we worked together. And yeah, that's kind of the last thing I remember. The next thing I knew, I was coming to, I saw my windshield completely spider webbed and I heard some voices coming through my like passenger seat. And it was the paramedics. I didn't know what happened. They were like breaking the window, using the jaws of life. And I remember like my first thought, like when I came to and I like looked around was like, this is a dream. Like this isn't happening. So, you know, like they grabbed me out, they put me in the ambulance. I noticed like I can't feel my right arm and I have like a really sharp shooting pain through like my stomach all the way down my legs. And they must have like, they were like probably pumping me with a bunch of shit because like the rest of that day comes back in waves. Mm-hmm. Like I remember waking up and being in the emergency room, not really knowing what happened. Like up until this point, I don't think I really like understood that I was in a car accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember coming to, I was in the emergency room and then kind of like falling back again. And then coming to, I was getting x-rayed. And then eventually I just came to and I was admitted to the hospital in a hospital bed. Like my parents were there. They were just looking at me. Nurses were like in and out. And then I vividly remember that night, a nurse like was giving me something, like putting it into my IV. And she looked at me and she said like, you're lucky that you're alive. But I guess like I had blacked out while I was driving to work that morning, totaled my car. I ended up having a broken right arm. Both my knees were broken and both my ankles were broken. And I had an adrenal hemorrhage, like internal bleeding. So I was brought to St. Luke's Hospital in New Bedford. Mm-hmm. And everyone who works there is amazing. And I was in the trauma 2 department, which is, I didn't know at the time, but like looking back on it, like I looked it up and it's like for like really bad traumatic accidents. Yeah. And I don't think I really like understood like the weight of what was happening when it was happening. And I remember I was in the hospital for like a week, couldn't move most of my limbs, had to kind of like learn to walk again. I remember doing like PT and OT while I was in the hospital. And I remember the occupational therapist came in because my arm was broken. I had pretty bad nerve damage and I couldn't like move my wrist, and we were doing like exercises for it. But I remember I asked her, I was like, this will come back, right? Like, I'll be able to move it. And she was like, maybe. Like, she didn't give me a definite answer. And that's when I was just kind of like, holy shit, like, this is like bad. Like, I can't cover up for this. Like, this is bad.
Do you mind me asking what you hit? Did you hit another car?
Yeah, I hit another car. And that's something I carried a lot of shame. But God was looking out for me that day because I'm the one who got all of the damage for it. She got out of her car, I guess was trying to get my attention. She called 911 and she didn't have any injuries. And I thank God every day for that I'm the one who got them, because I don't know if I would have been able to live with myself if something worse had happened. But yeah, after the hospital stay, it was kind of like a feeling that I've never felt before, like a new low. And I didn't really know what to do or how to move forward with that for a while. And then I remember like all those ways that I mentioned earlier that like I don't have a problem. I'm able to like keep my job. Well, after that, I got fired from my job. And like I have a car, not anymore. And I was like back to my parents' bedroom, like unable to walk. And it was like basic things like going up the stairs was something I had to learn how to do again. Like walking long distances was something I had to learn. Like I couldn't shower by myself. Well, I couldn't in the hospital. I would like try to manage doing it at home, but it's like all of these things that you don't really think about that you just go through the day doing. Like all of a sudden they became so much harder for me. And it was something that I had to like make a conscious effort to do. And I remember it was like maybe like a week after when I was discharged, I was sitting in my childhood bedroom and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, this was really bad, but it could have been so much worse than it is. And I have, you know, like I had my parents for support, and I was like, a lot of people in my position probably like wouldn't have had that. And
Right.
like, I'm grateful. And that's when like gratitude kind of like snapped back into my life. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to do something now. I was like, the way I was living clearly isn't working. This was really bad. And I remember thinking, I'm not interested in seeing how much worse things can get. And I knew if I just like, you know, like bounce back, started drinking again, like things would get worse. And I'm not interested in seeing what's going to happen next time. Because if there was a next time, who's to say I don't kill somebody?
Right.
So I remember having that thought. Like one morning I was sitting and I remember thinking, like, I'm gonna like really try this time. I was like, people say in the meetings all the time, like their life went to shit and they're like rebuilding. And if it works for them, like I'm gonna give myself the chance for it to work for me. And I remember I enrolled, I wasn't really mobile. So I enrolled in like an online PHP. One that I've been to before is called Brook Recovery. And I'm so grateful for them. They were so helpful through all of this. But yeah, I remember I went back to my PHP with kind of like my tail between my legs. Like this didn't work for me the way that I wanted it to. But you know, like even with like the really shitty situation that happened, they like embraced me and they like brought me in, and they're so nice to all of their clients. And the clinician I worked with was great. And then I reconnected with some of my recovery friends as well. Some that I like ghosted throughout the years. And that's always tough to do too, because you never know how they're going to react, like especially when something bad happens. I think I was always afraid that I would kind of like hit them up again and they'd be like, oh, told you so. Or like, see what happens. Like
Right.
you didn't listen to us, blah, blah, blah. But I'm so lucky that none of them did that. And they kind of like embraced me with open arms. And they were like there to help, which is like so awesome. And I'm so grateful for them. But willing to get me to a better place. And that's what I've been spending the past 10 months doing too. You know, like really taking things seriously and getting back to the root of my problem, which like I said, like I always felt like it was very like mental health based. It was like, I don't know, looking back now, it's like I'm kind of not surprised that like I was feeling the way I was feeling because I wasn't putting myself first and I wasn't taking care of my own well-being. And it's so funny. I always use this analogy too. It always feels like, like 19-year-old me was like picked up where I was and then just dropped where I am now. And when I think of the past couple of years, I feel like I was in such autopilot that it's almost like I woke up one day and I had no idea how I got to where I am.
Yeah.
And that's something I've been working, like in therapy and things like that, to be more conscious of, like as time goes on too. But, like being able to really look at my life the past couple of years. And now when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, of course I was feeling that way because I wasn't putting myself first, or I wasn't like taking into consideration my own needs or like doing something about it. But when you're in it, when you're in that cycle of like, especially of addiction, it's like, it's so hard to see that because you're spending so much of your energy trying to get away from it that, like the time escapes you and you feel like you're not able to do anything about it. So I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to really take a step back and look at what was going on, like taking my life for what it was and being able to kind of say to myself, like, okay, I'm here. I got here, like, regardless of what happened.
Right.
This is where, like, I'm starting. And I have the ability now to, like, get myself to a place where I want to be. And I think that's been huge for me, too. Because I felt like somewhere along the lines, like, in my 20s, like, through addiction, whatever it is, like, I feel like that's a part of myself that I lost, was, like, my motivation to, like, do things with my life, Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you got so stuck in your routines and, like job is a big part of it too, where it's like you don't even give yourself the chance to kind of like set goals or envision like a life greater for yourself. And that's a part of myself that, like I said, I thought I lost, but that's something that I've gained through sobriety. And I think it's like, it's been huge for me too, because for a long time I felt like my life is over. Like everything, my situation is so dead set on where it is now. I didn't even give myself the chance to consider that things could get better. And yeah, now I've been like, like setting goals and envisioning myself moving forward from this in a way and like building distance from who I was then versus who I want to be. And I heard someone say this in a meeting too. She said, the more distance I create between like who I was and who I am now, the easier it is for me to forget about just how bad it was. And I definitely relate to that. And I can definitely like feel myself doing that sometimes, which is like, just like what we're doing now, like even like recounting like the details of the things that have gone on and like just how bad it was. Like it's a good refresh because I know that if I were to go back to that, like it would be just as bad, if not worse than it is, than it was. And yeah, no, it's just been like mainly a very positive experience getting to where I am. And yeah, it feels crazy. Like I probably would have kept going if I didn't have like that physical thing to stop me. And that scares me too. But, like I'm just so glad that I made it and I'm still doing it. Definitely like, I don't feel like I've made it yet. There's still like that person like that I want to become.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel still like very far away from that. But my mindset has just changed so much that like I feel like I have a chance to get there now. And I feel like that chance is something that I never really like thought for most of my adult life. Like I always felt like my life was over. And now I'm able to really like put that energy into myself to get myself where I want to be.
Do you feel like that accident and that incident was like a spiritual awakening?
Definitely.
Like from that point forward, you were like, no, this is it. I can't go back.
Definitely.
So now when you think of it, knowing it could have been 10 times worse, that's kind of what we're relating to within hearing in that meeting, what the woman had said. Like, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Because it could be 30 times worse than what it was.
No, definitely. And yeah, that was something like I've talked about in therapy so much too. The way I look at it, I felt like the accident itself was kind of like the universe trying to get me on the right track in like the last possible way it was able to.
That
It
was
was
like
like-
its wits ends.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've always felt like that's the universe saying like, I'm not going to kill you, but this is the last message I'm going to send to you to let you know that like your way of doing things isn't working anymore. And that's something that I've really like internalized too. And I've been like really grateful for that because like just how close I got, like it could have gone so many
It
different
was
ways.
a near death experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and I don't take that lightly either. So yeah, I definitely think like I had some sort of like spiritual awakening or just feeling like God or the universe or whatever it is. I felt like there's something looking out for me
Mhm.
because like statistically looking at what happened, like in what world would you not have like died? And even like seeing pictures of what my car looked like after, it's like that looks like a car that the driver wasn't alive after.
Yeah. What do you do now for work?
So, um, I'm actually back working in mental health, which
for you.
I'm loving. Yeah. I'm a group facilitator, so I run mental health groups at a PHP,
Good.
and I'm loving it. I found so much meaning in my work, and you know, being sober now and having like a clear mind and everything has really been helpful for that. But yeah, I love my clients. I love seeing their progress. It's so funny to like see somebody come in and after a few weeks you can see like a complete transformation and like just the way they talk or the way that they view things or like I'll ask a question when they first come in and then I'll repeat it like when they're at their end of the treatment. And just seeing how much they change is like really awesome to see. So I find a lot of meaning in my work now where as before I was like I said just going through the motions of it. But it's awesome like um yeah, I feel I have a lot of pride in what I do.
It's meaningful because you know that you've been through it. So it's not something that you can just sit there and be like, whatever, I'm here and then I'm
Yeah.
going to clock out. You're
No,
helping somebody
definitely.
through what you went through.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so funny too because I don't know, like the uniqueness of it all is funny too because it's like you'll get someone who's going through something that they think no one else has ever been through. And I mean, not to put anyone's business out there, but I do have a client who, you know, is in treatment following a car accident where he broke his arm during. And I remember he was just telling me that, and I was like, this is the universe at it again. Like, what are the odds that this kid comes in and he's one of my clients
Same
and
thing
he
that happened to you.
went through the exact same thing that I went through? And obviously, like when I'm in the groups, I can't tell them that. Like, I'm not gonna put it on blast, but like in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know. It's just like so funny to see like the universe works in mysterious, like funny ways like that.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see yourself in the next 2 months? Because you're going to be hitting 1 year soon.
Yeah, I will hit 1 year, March 19th,
Good for
by the grace
you.
of God. Thank you. Again, like never thought I would ever have hit that. Like, I don't know, like a month always used to sound like way too much.
Time goes by fast when you're having fun.
Yeah, definitely. Which is possible being sober, which I never thought. In 2 months, I don't know, hopefully more established in my work. I definitely have like higher education kind of like on my mind right now. I want to kind of like go further down that line. I'm kind of exploring my options now. So maybe in 2 months I will have like a better idea of what that like realistically looks like. Um, but I don't know, like I feel like every day I get more aligned with like my higher self and that sounds so like stupid to say, but it's like I'm doing things now that like I used to dream of doing. Like I used to tell myself like I'm going to start going to the gym and I told myself that for like 2 years and like I've been going consistently for like 5 months and I feel myself like even with like the mobility issues I had, I feel myself bouncing back. So just staying I think like on the right track, like doing things that like make me feel better and will better me in the long run. Like I just want to like keep prioritizing that
You
because
found purpose. That's what it
yeah,
is.
definitely. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it too. Um, but yeah, and like just keep aligning myself with the things that make me feel good and starting to like create like realistic, like I said, like the education, but like realistic plans for myself and like moving myself forward to like yeah, like become that person that I've wanted to become for so long, but just never gave myself the chance.
considering you work in the treatment industry, if you had a newcomer that came to your facility and wanted to leave, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
I think I would kind of reiterate kind of like what I was talking about like giving yourself the chance. Like, I don't know. Obviously, someone in that position is there because something's not working. And I know, like, trust me, I know how scary it can be. And it's like, you're getting rid of your best friend, like your one coping mechanism. And that's like terrifying because you don't know what's going to happen. But I think I would challenge them to just give them the chance to see what's on the other side because as scary as it is, like it's not always a negative thing. Like more often than not, I would argue it's not a negative thing, but just see what happens and like take it 1 minute at a time if that's something that you need to do. And that's something too that's been huge for me. Something I talked to my therapist about was keeping it in the day. And like the things that I'm worried about, if it's not something that I have to worry about before I like hit the pillow tonight, then it's not worth worrying about today. And like you can shrink that to like keep it in the minute if you need to and just focus on right now. Don't focus on how you're going to feel tomorrow. Just keep it where you're at now.
I love that.
Thank you. I was talking to my friend the other day and I was saying like, I just feel so much happier now. And I like wake up in the morning, like not dreading what's to come. And like, I don't know. I just feel like my mindset has changed so much. I feel so positive about things. Like I'm not scared of life anymore. And that's like such a good feeling. And, like it took a while to get here. I'm not going to say like when I first got sober, it was easy or I was happy because I was probably miserable for like the first 3 months. But no, waking up today, it's like I have been starting off with a lot of gratitude. Something that I learned in the program was like to keep a journal. And I rolled my eyes at that for a long time, but I finally caved and got one. And I start my day with like a gratitude list that I'll physically write down to get it out of my head and onto paper that I can reference back. And I'll write down like things that I'm struggling with so I can go back and see that I'm like actually getting through the things that are bothering me. But no, I'm just so grateful. Like my friends that I have are so supportive of my recovery and my sobriety and my family. I think my relationship with my family has improved so much. I see them a lot more. They're like more willing to like extend trust to me now, which is like a really good feeling. And I feel like that's something I never really noticed that was gone until I got it back. And yeah, things like day to day have gotten a lot better. And that's not to say that this whole thing has been easy because it obviously hasn't. Like I lost some people in the last year. I've lost some relationships. I lost my grandmother over the summer, which was, thank you. Yeah, it was really difficult, but
I'm sorry.
I got through it. I was able to get through it sober and I was able to show myself that I was able to do that. And my mom was recently diagnosed with cancer, which has been really tough. But it's like, even with all of these like punches that are being thrown at me, it's like I'm not thinking of going back or coping with substances or drinking again because, like I know how much worse that would just make the whole situation. And not even externally, but like if I was trying to escape it with substances, I just know that it would make me feel a lot worse if I were to do that. So definitely like a lot of things have gone south these past 10 months, but I feel way more capable of dealing with these types of things when they show up. Just because I do have that confidence in myself and have that confidence in my own sobriety, which is like such a new feeling, but it's like, it's nice that I feel like I can lean on myself and I don't feel like I'm constantly waiting for something wrong to happen so I can like freak out. It's more so if something does, like go wrong or something doesn't go the way I want it to, like I know that I'm going to be able to handle it. And that's huge. And that's a feeling that I want to hold on to moving forward as well.
I like that.
Thank you.
This wraps up episode 27, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.